Well, ski to you all, and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of PHNX. This is my vice mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Thunderstick Jesse Friedman. Jesse, we had another day of being out at the wonderful paradise that is known as Salt River Fields, where it is very cold in the shade and very hot already in the sun, but you're still out there. You couldn't get enough, so I see that you're still there. Elizabeth is accusing your background of being fake. She says Jesse's background looks fake.
It does look kind of fake because spring training looks kind of fake, Derek. It's just so beautiful. The weather is beautiful. I know you said it's chilly in the shade, but I've got a couple layers on. I'm feeling pretty comfortable, and the background behind me is not fake.
No, it's not. And I love the look. I love the even the sounds of people mowing actual grass.
Can you hear that? I wondered if you could hear that.
Oh, we can hear that. We can hear that. But that's all right, because this is we're bringing you the sights and sounds of spring training. If you can't make it out, like so many people did, again, huge crowd out there today of people, not huge, but a nice showing of people out there to show their support for this team. I feel like the fan contingent stayed stronger than the media contingent, Jesse. There's still similar number of fans, not as many members of the media on day two, but the fun comparison they were making was like, it's like day one is the exciting day, and then every day after that is like Groundhog Day, leading up to whenever they start playing, actual baseball games. And, that's not too far away, but we did get a chance to be out there and enjoy all of this wonderful, pitchers and catchers reporting that's still going on right now.
Yeah, another successful day. I'm not really sure what would make an unsuccessful day at spring training.
Nah.
Guys are taking batting practice, throwing bullpens, taking PFPs. I'm sure there were some guys who maybe would have liked for their respective things to go better today, but it's a little early. I don't think anyone is too stressed out about results at this point. We did get some injury news today, which we'll get to here in a second.
Well, that's actually it. I mean, obviously the guys out there are having a great day, but the guys that aren't able to play right now, not having nearly as fun. We did get some confirmation from Torey on a couple of injuries. Some things we didn't know, some things we did know. Dre Jameson is out for the year, which is something that we had already discussed and forecasted due to the nature of the surgery that he had. But again, it was great to see Dre out there on day one in that spectacular looking uniform. And I mean, he's with the team. He's out there training and doing everything that he can, at least in the meantime, to keep himself ready for when he can come back to play.
Yeah, I mean, you have Tommy John surgery in mid-September. It's gonna be really tough to come back and pitch it all the next year. So yeah, Torey didn't really leave much room for interpretation or any kind of leeway there. It's pretty much just Dre Jameson is out for the 2024 season, which, as you said, is kind of what we expected all along.
No brace or anything, though. He was just out there. I mean, he looked like he looked like he was ready to go. And Dre, he probably is. They probably have to hold him back. But yeah, definitely, he probably wants to do too much. Another injury that we heard about that we didn't know was about Kevin Ginkel. And it's nothing, I don't think it's any cause for concern, but here's Torey talking about Kevin Ginkel having some elbow soreness.
Yeah, the only thing that is worth mentioning is Kevin Ginkel is going to just slow play a little bit. There's a little bit of, I'm going to just say right elbow soreness, nothing that's going to be a hindrance to him. It's just a little bit of a red flag at this point in time. We don't have to hustle through this. He threw a lot of baseball games for us last year, so we're going to pull him back a little bit and start his clock and start his time a little bit later than most.
When did that pop up?
Go ahead. The exact time, I'm not sure. Probably about a week ago, I would say.
Has he had imaging?
He has, and everything is fine.
So again, no cause for concern there when it comes to the injury. They said he did have imaging. Everything's fine, but again, the short off season really does leave some of the guys still kind of recovering from just pitching not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't realized actually how many innings Kevin Ginkel threw altogether last season. He was at 65 and a third innings in the regular season, plus 11 and 2/3 in the playoffs. I think he had like a handful of innings in Reno as well when he was sent down for a couple weeks back in June. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge workload really for a relief pitcher. You're talking about right around 80 innings altogether over the course of a season. There were certainly some moments where the Diamondbacks had him pitching on back-to-backs or whatnot. It seemed like he struggled a little bit more in those situations, as many relief pitchers do. And yeah, certainly not good news to have him dealing with some elbow soreness here early on in camp. But as you said, and as you heard from Torey there, it doesn't sound like a significant concern. No structural damage or anything like that. It's just a slow play situation. Sounds like Kevin Ginkel still has, at least a decent shot of being ready to go by opening day.
This is different though than Zach and Merrill, who also are going to be kind of slow played as far as their progression. They have no injury, they have right. Nothing, but there is something there with Kevin Ginkel, and again, it's nothing to be concerned with at this time, but it is something at least to be aware of because he was such a huge part of that bullpen last year.
He really was. I mean, yeah, Kevin Ginkel went from, I wrote this in a story the other day on our newsletter. Kevin Ginkel went from this time last year competing for a spot in the Diamondbacks bullpen to right. Like he was not guaranteed a spot in the bullpen last year, as odd as that might be to think of. This year he comes in, projected by not a huge margin necessarily, but projected as the most valuable reliever on this team. He and Paul Sewald are kind of, far ahead of the rest of the competition, at least most of the other guys in this bullpen. So yeah, Ginkel has very much emerged for this Diamondbacks team coming off the season he had last year. He's a really, really important part of this bullpen. I think about guys who, if they got hurt, would be very difficult for the Diamondbacks to replace. Kevin Ginkel is, I mean, I know he's a relief pitcher, but he's near the top of that list for me. Like if you lose your best high leverage relief pitcher, that's a big loss. And, this Diamondbacks bullpen is better than it's been in the past, but it doesn't necessarily have a ton of depth, especially at that back end.
Yeah. And Connor said it, Kevin Ginkel just threw so much, and that's something definitely to consider here. This is new to some of these guys. Some of these guys have not had this short of a period of time to recover from pitching as many innings as they did last season. And of course, you're right. When you talk about where Kevin Ginkel was to begin last season, or even where he was at the point of this year where he got sent down to AAA, right? Like to think of that, and then to think of what he was for this team at the end of the year is kind of incredible. But even when he was sent down, you and I were very confused by that. We knew it was a thing about options and such. It really wasn't about his performance because he was performing well at the time. Another guy, though, Jesse, that could be absolutely huge for this team, and this also comes on the back of some injury news, is Corbin Martin, who is a guy that was competing for a spot last year, looked very good, and then lost the whole season himself due to injury.
Yeah, he did. I talked with Corbin Martin a few weeks ago. Should have a story coming out on him here in pretty short order. And yeah, he told me he was in like the most pain he's ever been in his life. I mean, you think about a tendon tearing in your shoulder, like a very important tendon. It does not sound like a pleasant experience at all. Yeah, it was rough for him. Torey talked about today. I think we have a clip of just the progression that he was on last year, how good he looked in spring training. Being in a good position to make the roster, and then having that happen. It was really unfortunate. This year, it sounds like Corbin Martin is ready to go. And we saw him pitch yesterday. He threw a bullpen yesterday, looked good. The curveball looked nasty as it did last season as well. So yeah, this could be this could be a big season for Corbin Martin. I mean, he could be one of those relief pitchers who not only makes the team but develops into a higher leverage arm, by the end of the year.
It's it could be a low key weapon for the Diamondbacks that not many people are really considering. We often talk about the additions through free agency and such, but Corbin Martin could absolutely be a a big part of this team out of the bullpen. And this is what Torey said to say about him being a full go.
Corbin Martin is a full go, and he's throwing the ball very well and feels healthy. If you can remember back to last spring, he was on a journey to make this team. He was probably, I know the conversations we were having, he was right in the forefront of those conversations, and then got hurt. It was a terrible day for all of us. So I continued to remind him of that throughout the course of his rehab, and he's picked up right where he left off. So he's healthy. We want to see him go out and execute and make the best decision moving forward for him.
I mean, when you talk about him being in excruciating pain, and then Torey talking about it being a terrible day for all of us, like I think that just illustrates how bad this injury truly was.
It was a weird day too. I don't think I was here covering that game. That might have been the only night game at Salt River Fields last year, and it was rainy that day. I think it got rained out actually. It was like they played like 4 innings or something like that, and then they just called the game at that point. But yeah, before that happened, Corbin Martin threw a pitch, and I want to say it was his breaking ball, and he felt something. It was not a good feeling. The Diamondbacks training staff runs out there. It was very clear that it was something with his arm, which of course is always what you dread when you're a pitcher is on the mound and experiencing an injury. So. Yeah, it was a rough blow for the D-backs last year. I think they absolutely could have used him. His curveball, as I said, looked good the other day. It looked good last year. I checked on the whiff rate of that pitch in spring training last year. I want to say it was like 40% or somewhere above that. Granted, he only threw about 5 innings in spring training last year before the injury happened, but that has a chance to be a really good weapon for him. And the Diamondbacks, when they acquired him from the Astros for Zach Greinke a few years ago, they were hoping that Corbin Martin would be a starting pitcher, a formidable starting pitcher, someone that they had been trying to acquire for a while. The fact that he had Tommy John surgery kind of opened the door for them to do that. They were able to get him in that deal for Greinke. But yeah, coming over, it's just been, he just hasn't really had consistent opportunity in the majors. He comes over, he was dealing with Tommy John surgery. There have been other smaller injuries that have popped up, and then the big one last year. He hasn't really had a chance to prove himself at the big league level, and I think he's 28 years old now. He's not the up and coming prospect that he maybe was when the D-backs first acquired him. But that doesn't mean he can't, be a valuable member of this team, specifically in the bullpen. I don't think you're going to see Corbin Martin vying for a rotation spot. But in the bullpen, I think he could be a weapon.
Well, we are going to be talking about who is going to be vying for a rotation spot. And Torey today did make it sound like the competition was a little bit wider than what we're speculating, which I think most of us are just kind of focusing on Ryan Nelson and Tommy Henry. But there's a few other names that are in the mix as well that Torey discussed today. Another thing that was discussed today by Geraldo Perdomo was us and our video, because Jerry P basically told us, I saw what you said about me, and I saw your video, and that made me laugh very much, because I replied by saying, yeah, I know, we saw your Instagram, that's why we made the video, right? Like your Instagram picture, loving your teammates and just reminiscing on the season that was 2023 is what made us worry, what made me panic, Jesse. And of course, I'm glad he knows that I panicked about a very innocent set of pictures that he posted on Instagram, which, looking back on it now in hindsight, was maybe a little bit overreactionary.
I think we kept it in perspective. Like, we didn't really strongly believe that Geraldo Perdomo was being traded by the Diamondbacks, and that would be kind of a weird thing for Geraldo to do before any news of a trade had come out, for him to just like start going off on Instagram saying his farewells to everyone.
We do know how things work sometimes, right? Like, sometimes we know that information is passed along internally, obviously, before it makes the news, before they make it official, right? So sometimes, in some cases, and maybe I'm a little guilty of this, some people just put too much stuff about their life out on social media too quickly, Jesse, and maybe
you're 100%
what we saw.
Yeah, you're 100% guilty of that. Geraldo Perdomo, this isn't really even his personal life. Like, this is just his teammates, right?
Yeah, this is just teammate love. Yeah.
it was still funny. I mean, yeah, all in good fun. I think Geraldo probably understands why there might have been some speculation there, but yeah, all indications are that Geraldo Perdomo is very much going to be a part of this Diamondbacks team in 2024. I don't anticipate any trades happening, just as we said back when this whole thing happened.
Well, I mean, after the way he smiled at us while he was talking to us about this, now I want that. I want to make sure he stays the Diamondback forever until the end of time. But yeah, no, the smiles were all around Jesse in the clubhouse. Everybody was having a good time. I think I counted, if I have it correctly, the words "connected" were said 38 times. So 38 times people said that they were connected, and I smiled.
You're just counting connected and dangerous.
Oh yeah,
times people say those words.
Connected and dangerous. That's like that makes me do what like Pee Wee used to do. It's like the secret word, like he said it, that kind of thing. But connected mostly because of course we heard Torey talk about that quite a bit. He talked about how many position players were out there both yesterday and today. That essentially, aside from a few guys that are spending some extra time with their family, and aside from a visa issue, everybody is at camp, and that includes all the position players as well. Which, I mean, I know this isn't that uncommon, but it is kind of cool to see this team this excited to be back out there, back together. I mean, I know Ryan Thompson brought that up, that they're just kind of excited to be back around each other and training and getting ready for the 2024 season.
Yeah, we talked with Tommy Henry for a while too, and that was something he emphasized is just like the best part of spring training is the time in the clubhouse. We touched on it a little bit yesterday. This is a time of year where the players have a little bit more room to just be able to hang out with each other and crack some jokes along the way and whatnot. It's a more lax time of year for them, and I think they really enjoy that. And Torey talked about this as well. Like, this is the time of year where you really do. You're going to form a bond, on some level throughout the course of a very long baseball season, but you also can start that process right now here in spring training. It's going to take more than just the Diamondbacks 26-man opening day roster to get through the season. A lot of those players that are going to be helping out, not necessarily on day one, but over the course of the year, are here in spring training right now, and they have an opportunity to, all kind of get to know each other at this point as well. So this is a really foundational part of the year for teams to just really, really build that bond with one another.
After 2 days, Jesse, who's our favorite coach, and why is it O-Dog already?
Orlando Hudson is no one's ever accused him of being quiet. And that definitely, as a member of the media watching these kind of mundane practices, you definitely want to figure out where O-Dog is and make sure that that's you're watching the practice that's happening on that particular field. Yeah. There's going to be probably more entertainment value there than anywhere else. There was a ball that, first of all, I'm pretty sure that O-Dog could still win a Gold Glove award. His hitting at this age might be a little bit suspect, but at second base, he's still fielding those grounders to facilitate some of these things. He looks pretty good out there, Derek.
Yeah, he did miss one though, Jesse, and then I believed he accused ball of being broken. Is that right? He tossed it over to you.
He accused it of being broken, and then he rolled it to the side, and it did. Yeah, oddly enough, it did roll directly to me. I don't know if that was supposed to be some sort of a statement that I was the one who broke it. I didn't interpret it that way. If that was the way it was intended, no hard feelings, O-Dog. It's all good from my end.
Maybe that was just like the misfit toys. Funny. Like he was putting it with the other misfit toys is what he was doing. And, I don't know. It's definitely not, no reflection of you at all, Jesse, of course. You did say that, getting out there is definitely, this is like, if you love baseball, this is the best time to be here. And if you are here in town and you are from anywhere else, of course, the one thing you have to make sure to not miss out on while you're here is the Mexican food, is the Sonoran style time-tested recipes of our friends from Somboros. And of course, Somboros is located all around the valley. They have their brand new locations in Goodyear, Peoria, and of course, my location, which I frequent quite a bit up here at I-17 and Joe Max, aka South Anthem, I think is what my friends call it. Of course, you can visit someburros.com to find one near you, but they have incredible platters for you if you need to cater your events, or of course, they have all the burritos, all the incredible burritos, breakfast burritos, wonderful coffee, and so much more. So whatever you're looking for, check out someburros.com. Let Some Burros cater your next meal, big or small. Order online or find one near you by visiting someburros.com. And a great way to get yourself ready to eat a wonderful burrito from Some Burros is to get yourself some OGs. They have a wonderful variety of strains and doses and things to help you out, like sleep edition gummies, and of course a happy balance gummy, and so much more over at OG's. They also have their brand new products, including their OG's Naturals and the Big OG's. OG's Naturals are vegan gummies made with live rosin. Meanwhile, the Big OG's gummy is a mega version of Peg's Raspberry Orange RSO. Of course, these are both available at dispensaries near you. So to check out everything OG's Gummies has to offer and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Big shout out to you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever we go live, because especially these spring training days, we don't know sometimes when we're going to go live. And sorry about yesterday, because that was once again, I'm not saying that there was another fire in our building, but what I am saying is that I suspect that fire did more damage than we know. But anyway, we will still be bringing you this show, no matter if Jesse and I have to do it together in his living room on his cell phone. We will be here.
That was actually a possibility today. That we didn't quite make it to that point of desperation, but it was discussed. So maybe one of these days.
We picked far better backdrops for today, but of course we thank you guys for being here. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, you cannot see Jesse's wonderful backdrop, but I assure you it's breathtaking. Of course, make sure you're subscribed over there. Maybe stop by and check out the YouTube show every once in a while if you haven't done that, and also leave us a review. We always appreciate those reviews very much. We thank you guys, of course, for listening. I did want to give a shout out to my guy Jackson. Jackson here says, Derek, it's me, Jackson. We met today. I just want to say, speaking of breathtaking, Jackson's fit today was breathtaking. I walked up upon this man as I was entering the media gate, and he was wearing the brand new cream colored home jersey. He had on the teal, spring training cap. He had an amazing mustache, and he looked ready to go for the season. He looked ready to go for a playoff run already. And then he called me the mayor and told me that he's from Flagstaff and listened on his way down, listens to the show. So thank you, Jackson, for listening. And of course, thank you for showing up ready. You ready to rock and roll today? That's for sure. Speaking of being ready,
how come I didn't get to meet Jackson? That doesn't
because I refused
Jackson have a
to
favorite?
introduce him to you. I don't know. He called me the mayor, and then I thought maybe he might show you more love, as does everybody that we meet. So I was like, no, I'm not. I'm keeping this one for myself. Selfishly, I'm keeping it. Of course, Jesse, we do know that the battle for the 5th and final rotation spot for the Arizona Diamondbacks is going to be a pretty significant competition. Like I said earlier, even though we've kind of discussed that it's between Ryan Nelson and Tommy Henry, it isn't just between those guys. And there is a few other names that have kind of come up. I know today Torey was asked about both Bryce Jarvis and he was asked about Blake Walston, and he didn't turn down the idea that either of those guys could be in the running potentially for this starting rotation spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it's manager speak at the beginning of spring training.
Sure. Yeah, you can't say no.
Yeah, you kind of leave the door open on everything. Like, looking back to last season, we were having similar conversations about the Diamondbacks 5th rotation spot. I look back to that and I'm still asking myself, like, did Brandon Pfaadt really have a shot last year? Was he really in the running for that spot? That's sort of what we were led to believe at the beginning of spring training, but then he went and pretty clearly outpitched the competition, and yet he was sent back to minor league camp a decent amount of time before opening day. So I think at this point you're going to see Torey cast a pretty wide net, not close the door on any particular player at this stage of spring training. But yeah, I mean, he said he likes what he's seen from Bryce Jarvis so far. He was asked today if Bryce is in the running for that 5th starter spot or for a bullpen spot. We kind of saw Bryce in more of a reliever role last year, like a reliever opener type role. And we don't know for sure yet. Torey said that he wanted to have that conversation with Bryce first, and then he would be willing to share that information with us. So I imagine tomorrow we'll get more clarification on exactly where Bryce Jarvis stands in this race. Blake Walston threw a bullpen today. Torey talked about that as well and said that he really liked what he saw, moving the fastball around, the breaking pitches and whatnot. Again, on paper, I'm not sure if I see Blake Walston as being a legitimate contender here. It feels like, the path for him is probably to start in AAA and then maybe even likely get an opportunity to come up at some point when injuries and whatnot arise over the course of the year. But yeah, I mean, maybe this race isn't just Ryan Nelson and Tommy Henry. I think Slade Ciccone certainly has at least some chance to nail down this role. He's another guy in the running as well, for sure.
Sorry.
Are you muted? Is that just me?
I was muted.
Okay.
No, it was just me.
All right.
Torey did discuss, like you said, how he views the starting rotation now, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think it would be real nice. So you guys are probably thinking about it the same way. I haven't announced anything, right? But to potentially knife them in there between 2 and 3 would be a pretty good thing. So I haven't said anything to anybody. I haven't said anything to him. But just to be totally honest with you, I think that would give us a nice little slice right in the middle of a bunch of righties.
That was actually in regards to Erod, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. This is actually, can we have the other clip of Torey on how he views the starting rotation now?
Don't have one.
Oh, okay. How about sorry, apologize for that. I thought we had that. We do have more though. And that was Torey talking about Erod though. And of course, that Erod was a topic of discussion as well today. Torey was asked on how he viewed the 2016 version of Eduardo Rodriguez versus the current one. And I mean, that discussion right there was Torey talking about maybe where Erod might factor in. But first, this is what Torey had to say about how Erod compares now to the former version that Torey once coached.
Probably a little bit more relaxed. I think he has exhaled from the last time that I've seen him, and it's been a long time, right? It's been 7 years. He was a young kid when I saw him, and he was very impressionable. He was trying to do the right thing at all times. He still does, but he was young, and I think he was on edge, and he was doing everything he could to do the right thing. I think he's taken a big exhale and said, "Well, I've established myself, and now I got to just take care of my business," and that's where he's at for me.
And I mean, obviously, he's come a long way. Like you said, it's 8 years since then. But I mean, there's something to be said about what was discussed about Erod today, and that was he showed a lot of kind of veteran leadership out there in doing some of the drills with the young guys. And I know a lot of people already are big fans of his effort and just kind of his personality. Like, he definitely seems to be a guy clicking with a lot of his teammates already.
Yeah, we got a chance to watch PFPs, every pitcher's favorite thing, our favorite thing to watch for sure. And yeah, Erod was out there in a group with Tommy Henry, Brandon Pfaadt, Andrew Saalfrank was in there, a couple of other guys. And yeah, I mean, in small ways, but you can kind of see him, like he's clearly been doing this for a while. And I saw him like point something out to Tony Perez-Chico, who's running the drill, like, "Oh, we're supposed to do it this way now." And Tony Perez-Chico was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. We are supposed to do it that way." Yeah. So you can see just in little bits and pieces like that Erod is a veteran. He seems to be a guy of high character, someone who is a good person to have around. Seems to really care about his teammates. Yeah. Definitely something the Diamondbacks value about him. And in that first clip that you shared of Torey talking about Erod, it's a little unclear to me. I'm not sure if Torey was specific enough for me to make any firm judgments, but he did talk about Erod sliding into the rotation in the middle. He likes the idea of a lefty, like kind of in the middle of all the righties. It sort of sounded like his plan is to have Erod as the Diamondbacks' number 2 starter, sandwiched between Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, going right, left, right, as opposed to having a couple righties at the top of the rotation and then Erod in the number 3 spot. I don't think we know that for sure yet. Torey didn't make anything official, and it's a little hard to really understand exactly what he was trying to say there. But that wouldn't surprise me if that was the outcome. You might see Erod start, maybe it's Gallen on opening day, and then Erod on day 2, and then Merrill Kelly in game 3. It'll be a little while before we can say for sure, but we'll probably know before Torey is willing to say, because you can kind of piece together based on when guys are starting in spring training, how the order is setting up. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch over the course of spring training.
I think it's going to be a little confusing, though, because with Gallen and Merrill Kelly both being held back a little bit, we might not see them. We don't know when we're going to see them start games, and we don't know how they're going to get them warmed up. We do know that they're going to try to give those guys specifically a little extra time just to give them,
Sure.
And Merrill Kelly, when you talk about Merrill Kelly had a huge season last year where, not just, the cramping issues and the blood clot issues that he had and the additional time in the playoffs and in the World Series, but Merrill Kelly also started on Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. And that was a long season for him. I would see, right now, Erod factoring in maybe at the 2 as a way also to, just give Merrill a little bit more time, give him, just that extra time to be, even if it's one day, an extra day away in the rotation from making his starts. I also like what Torey's saying in regards to, the breaking up, and sliding Erod in there where he slides in at. Damon, can we play the clip again? Because let's just see if it's manager speak or if we're really picking up what he's saying. Let's hear that one more time.
Yeah, I think it would be real nice. So you guys are probably thinking about it the same way I am. I haven't announced anything, right? But to potentially knife them in there between 2 and 3 would be a pretty good thing. So I haven't said anything to anybody. I haven't said anything to him. But just to be totally honest with you, I think that would give us a nice little slice right in the middle of a bunch of righties.
I like when he says, like, you guys know probably, he always infers, you already know. I don't have to say it, right? You know what, what's there. You know what question you're asking, answer it yourself, but anyway, and again, that's in regards to the rest of the rotation, which we feel like is fairly set, but getting back to that competition for this 5th spot in the rotation, I feel like it's again, you might be onto something, for the most part, it might be really, really still down to just Tommy Henry and Ryan Nelson. I just think back, Jesse, and I've been covering this team for a long time, so the gray in my beard is about to get grayer and expand. But there was a time where Patrick Corbin was the odd man out, and the battle in spring felt like Patrick Corbin really wasn't part of it based on the other guys the Diamondbacks had. One who I won't name because it makes people very mad when I just bring up his name. But Patrick Corbin that spring, even though it sounded very much like, that Corbin wasn't going to be the prospect that got called up and got the spot in the rotation, Corbin outperformed everybody in spring. And then next thing you know, this is 2012, he's getting the call instead of Tyler Skaggs or Trevor Bauer, or I said the thing, I shouldn't have said it. But anyway, but yeah, there are times where, someone can really outcompete the competition, even though they weren't a favorite in spring, and win that job. So that, and Torey touched on that. That's the clip that we don't have, but Torey basically touched on the fact he likes that competition. He likes the way that it does bring out the best in guys, and it really does make guys understand that nobody's position is really safe, because anybody really can get outplayed out here and possibly lose their job. So even though that sounds very negative, the competition is real for everybody and not just the ones that we know about.
Sorry, the sounds of spring training have gotten pretty loud behind me. So if you're there, I think
you're talking to
me,
I can't hear you.
I can mostly make out what you're saying. No, there's some college baseball stuff, like the Desert Invitational or something like that is happening here tomorrow. So I think they're getting the field ready for that. But anyway, something that was interesting to me also about this is Torey didn't say that the number 4 spot in the rotation is open. Brandon Pfaadt is going to make the team. That was something that he said 1 through 4 in the rotation we feel good about. There's no questions at this point that Brandon Pfaadt is going to be in the opening day rotation. no surprises there, really. I mean, after I know Fott had an ERA in the high fives last year when all was said and done, but you look at his numbers in the second half, you look at his numbers certainly in the postseason. I think he clearly earned that spot. So I wasn't hugely surprised there, but worth bringing up. Ryan Nelson has been out here working out for a long time. That's something that Mike Hazen mentioned back in December, that Ryan's been out here really putting in the work for a while, doing everything he can to earn that fifth starter spot. Torey was asked specifically today about him and what he wants to see from Ryan in order to kind of get to that next level. And he mentioned not being too reliant on one pitch with a fastball, something we talked about a lot on this show. Ryan Nelson, has a really good fastball. It took a bit of a step back last year, and really no one's fastball is good enough, as a starting pitcher to just be throwing it and throwing it and throwing it. He needs to develop those other weapons, and we saw that in spurts last year. Torey talked about a really big game that he pitched in San Francisco on the road. I think it was 7 innings of 1-run ball or something, and the role that his changeup played in that game specifically, and also the sliders, another pitch Torey talked about. He really wants to see Ryan, continue to work on that pitch and get more comfortable using that pitch. Ryan Nelson has certainly been putting in the work and seems to have it really as good a chance at getting the spot as anyone else.
We also talked to Tommy Henry, and Tommy Henry has also been putting in the work. And you asked him about competing for that fifth rotation spot, and this is what Henry had to say.
I'm the type of guy where I try not to focus on that type of stuff. I try to make the most of today, and I feel like if I can stack that up as many times as I can, then I'll like where I'm at, or at least accept the fate of whatever happens at the end of spring training. So if I can stack up a bunch of good days in a row and build towards putting myself in the best chance to be my best, then I think that gives me the best shot.
It's so weird to ask someone about competing for a spot, right? Because essentially they're not really competing against their fellow pitchers. It's not hand-to-hand combat. They're not going out there. Right. It's not, right? So there is the idea here that, and we've heard this time and time again from guys. Dre Jameson, I remember specifically last spring, him talking about this. You can control what you can control. You can go out there and you can have a good outing, and you can just focus on listening to your coaching and making the improvements that they're asking you to do, and working, basically being coachable, but also at the same time trying to realize that you're not out there just to get coached. You're out there to compete for a job, and that every single outing is important. Every single day, even out there at Salt River Fields at camp, is important for these guys that are in this competition for a starting rotation spot. I like Tommy Henry a lot, and I think he has a lot to offer. Torey discussed that of the guys in the competition, that he had the lowest exit velo of the group. And of course, that's something when we talk about the peripherals and such, when we talk about some of the numbers, that no matter how good your numbers are, it's great to throw a ball that guys can't hit hard, and that's not something every pitcher can necessarily do.
Yeah, that was a really big asset for Tommy last year. You look at his numbers last season, the strikeout rate isn't going to blow you away. The walk rate isn't going to blow you away. Because these sounds are really getting interesting. I don't know. What are they doing?
It's escalating. I don't know. It's yard stuff. It's yard wars, Jesse.
What kind of yard work requires this kind of noise? But yeah, Tommy's not going to blow guys away with his stuff. And he walked a few more batters last year than you like. But yeah, I mean, you look at some of the data from StatCast, his expected ERA was, I believe, pretty close to his actual ERA in the low fours. He was just so good at limiting hard contact. And on a year-to-year basis, it's pretty hard to know, how much staying power that has. That tends to be, from a number standpoint, not as sticky as some of the other metrics, meaning that it doesn't necessarily hold up year-to-year in the same way that like a strikeout rate or, a walk rate, something like that holds up year to year. But it certainly is telling of, Tommy's ability to miss the barrel. His chase rate was really high too last year. So even though he wasn't getting a ton of swing and miss, he was getting guys to swing at pitches out of the zone. That's obviously a huge part of pitching if you can do that. So I think he's in good position. And I mean, the reality is when it comes to this starting pitching battle, no matter who gets that fifth spot on opening day, Ryan Nelson and Tommy Henry and Slade Ciccone and probably Blake Walston and Bryce Jarvis. Like, these guys are all going to get opportunity in the majors at some point this year. You're always going to need, 9 or 10 starting pitchers in order to make it through a full season. That's just kind of the way it is. So, whoever misses out on this spot, they're still probably going to get an opportunity sooner than later.
Jesse, Kevin in the chat is calling us out on our headline. He said competition heating up on day 2. Come on, man. The guys are stretching and drinking coffee. I saw nobody drinking coffee. Nobody was drinking coffee, but you are right. I mean, yeah, it is early in the.
It's not. Spring. Yeah, it's not so much that the competition is heating up in like the on-field competition for sure, but kind of the narratives around the competition are what's heated up. Like, we kind of know I think the table is sort of set for like who's involved, guys' perspectives on it, how they're approaching it, as you heard there from Tommy Henry. So narratives are developing around it. But yes, granted, we haven't actually seen anyone pitch yet in an actual Cactus League game. So this is very much a developing story, and probably not going to resolve until, maybe up until basically the last day of the regular season. I mean, or of spring training. I mean, that's really what we saw last year. The Diamondbacks' decision to start the year with Ryan in the rotation and have Dre Jameson open the year in the bullpen. That was something that came in 24 hours before opening day or something. So yeah we're not going to know for probably quite a while at this point.
And that was a little controversial, right? There were a lot of people that didn't really like that decision at the time because Dre Jameson, he puts fire in our blood, Jesse, and you just, not everybody, just like the exit velo thing, not everybody can put fire in our blood. But you did get a clarification on Luis Frias and how his option situation might change some of, like, for instance, your predictions as to how this roster could kind of stack up here when opening day comes around.
Yeah, this is clarification I got today directly from the Diamondbacks. They confirmed that Luis Frias has 1 option remaining, not 0, as had previously been mentioned in a couple of stories and probably on the show by yours truly. So apologies for the mix-up there. Fangraphs is often accurate on these things, but it is not. Fangraphs is not always accurate on these things. And so Fangraphs says 0. That is not the case. I'm told Luis Frias has 1 option remaining. I haven't dug in. I haven't had a chance today to dig into exactly how that option came to be. I know some people were asking about that on Twitter. Talking with some of the other reporters, people didn't necessarily have a ton of clarity on this themselves. But I think there are just certain cases where, generally you have the 3 option years. But there are certain situations where you're given a 4th year, and Frias somehow, some way met that requirement. I'll do some digging and try to get an explanation for why this is the way it is. But for it is significant news in that the Diamondbacks have the ability to send down Luis Frias and not likely lose him in the process. Previously, if he had no options remaining, the Diamondbacks would have had to designate him for assignment, pass him through waivers. He likely would have been claimed by another team. If the Diamondbacks had decided not to have him on the opening day roster. So now there's less pressure on the D-backs to put him on the opening day roster just for the sake of making sure he stays in the organization. If they feel that he's not, one of their 8 best relief pitching options, then they have the ability to send him down and they wouldn't lose him as a result of that.
Well, make sure you get that information for me, Jesse, because you screwing up the options thing. I mean, the competition isn't just for the starting rotation spot. I mean, Cogs is waiting in the wings at all times to steal your spot. So just remember that. Just again, not a threat, just something to keep you on your toes, keep you at your best, if you will, like what Torey wants with this competition. But I will say, speaking of the best, for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, and they have been dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and by providing financial solutions that make lives better. Jesse, Damon, can you mute Jesse? Because I can't read and listen. Thank you. Get him out of here. Thank you. Just mute him for the rest of the show. This is how we're doing the rest of the show. Anyway, Desert Financial team, by the way, are financial experts, and you want to trust financial experts. Not everybody has your best interest in mind, so make sure you trust a financial institution that does. Look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. When you open a free checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 right now. Also, check out our friends over at BetMGM Sportsbook. Of course, Damon Dog is back, and he is here to make sure once get you some bets, get your bets all straightened out. But in the meantime, download the Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit betmgm.com. Sign up using our bonus code of PHNX. If you deposit $5 into your newly created account and wager that amount, you will receive $150 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. And again, you can check in here at PHNX on PHNX Bets. Get yourself some bets. Get yourself some hot bets for the Suns, especially lately. That has been a very hot team. And of course, you can sign up for BetMGM and use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile application for at least $5. You will receive $150 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Damon talk about the disclaimer.
Promo call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
All right, you can unmute him now.
Am I allowed?
Yeah. Puerto Rico. All right.
Puerto Rico.
I just wanted you for that part. Jesse, we did hear a little information today about how sick of Fanatics some people are. And we know Fanatics at times has made our lives as sports fans very difficult, but it would appear that some people very much do not like the new Major League Baseball jerseys. And I say that as a thing across Major League Baseball. This isn't specific to Arizona Diamondbacks, but we understand that Nike has kind of outsourced the creation of MLB uniforms to Fanatics. And some people aren't happy. There's been some complaints that there are less customization options for pants, for like pitchers and such. I kind of got some word today that there's kind of like 3 options instead of like a series of measurements that players could have. There's just a lot of things. Apparently people just think the lettering on the back looks janky. Like people aren't happy. They're not happy. I know we saw the St. Louis Cardinals like spring training jersey looks as basic as it could look. I mean, it looks like I made it, Jesse. That's all I'm saying. I mean, this is, like I said,
the letters like aren't. Yeah, then I think it was the numbers on the back of like a Miles Michaelis jersey. They're like clearly not aligned properly, which did seem not ideal. There's an article over at The Athletic talking about this and how it is an issue that's come up in a lot of major league clubhouses. The union is apparently involved in this as well. My understanding is that Nike designed these jerseys, engineered and designed them. They do have this nicer feel. They feel like wearing a t-shirt almost. So I think there are some positives from a feel standpoint. But yeah, they were manufactured by Fanatics, and people are not happy with the way that they came out from a visual perspective. There's talk of them looking like replicas rather than looking like an authentic Major League jersey, which I do understand, honestly. As someone who's seen these in person, I think they do look good, but I can't really put my finger on it. There's something about them that gives me a replica vibe over the actual authentic jersey vibe. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe you can.
It's because it's cheap, Jesse. It's because you have a replicas company making it. You don't have a company that understands the difference between an authentic jersey and the small things you need to do quality-wise. Like sometimes it's so stupid. Sometimes it's little embroidered logos versus it being silk screened on there. Sometimes it's a matter of using, like, I don't know. I mean, this came up with the NHL jerseys. Adidas used to make the NHL jerseys, and they were so nice looking. The material was nice. The way that like the shoulders had a different material than the rest of it. This like little NHL jersey right here was like chrome and looked quality. It looked like you were wearing an authentic jersey versus buying, a cheaper version. Like, honestly, jerseys having tiers has always been a thing. That's nothing new. Ever since I was a kid, I was always buying the silk screened basketball jerseys because I couldn't afford the embroidered ones. Not to mention, I didn't really like the feel of them because they were heavy and they had the big patches on them that, like, if you tried to wear it, it felt weird and it felt like it wasn't very natural, right? Like these jerseys for the players should have a difference in quality than the replicas. There should be things to them. I feel like the letters are small. The numbers are small. I haven't had a chance to see them close, but I did get a chance to see the Diamondback snake patch on the sleeve on a jersey today, and I couldn't really see like a stitching going around the edge. And sometimes like that embroidered edge, that stitching, that's that quality that differentiates it from a replica with like a logo just being silk screened onto the sleeve. And I think that's kind of the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, there are advancements in the jerseys that they're making for the players so that they are more lightweight and stretchable. That's something that Tommy Henry brought up. Tommy Henry had no complaints about the new jerseys. In fact, he said he liked them more. Everything he had to say that he felt was different from last year's jersey was an improvement. So there were no complaints on his end about it, but we didn't get a chance to ask him about like the pants having less options. For instance, it's like they used to like do measurements, and if you wanted like a tight pant or if you wanted a loose pant, like you had all of those abilities yourself to just pick and choose how you wore your pants. Like Merrill Kelly wears a very baggy like pant, and you can tell that's kind of his preference. That's not just because Merrill Kelly didn't get the tailored version of pants that everybody else got. It's a preference thing. When it comes to athletes being comfortable and performing at their best, you want them to be comfortable. You don't want to limit their options to the same options that we as fans have to customize the same stuff. Like they should definitely have a more customized version of the jersey and the pants and a higher quality one. So I understand. I mean, it is just spring, so it remains to be seen, but I just don't know if this is going to improve come the regular season. You do have a replicas company making your jerseys now, and that might right in itself be the problem.
Yeah, it is interesting having Nike like design them, but then Fanatics doing the actual manufacturing. Maybe if Nike was doing the entire thing, I mean, they are obviously involved in the making of a lot of professional jerseys used around sports. Maybe that would have been the better option here. And I know when they go ahead.
There's little things Nike does that I like, and it's stupid. I even tell my wife sometimes it's stupid, right? But it's like, oh wow, they put the little like logo on the zipper, or they did this, or this is embroidered down here in the corner. Like it's small stuff that really is meaningless at the end of the day, and most people that see you wearing it probably wouldn't even see that or notice it. But it's those little things that makes me feel like spending the extra $40 on this jersey versus that jersey was worth my money.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I know when they originally released these jerseys that were going to be used in spring training, there's a quote from Nolan Arenado that was very positive. Like they, of course, in the initial press release, they had some good stuff from players, some good feedback from players in there. But that's not always once you release them to the masses, and there's a bunch of hundreds of players around the league putting these on every day. The full scope of feedback starts to trickle in, and it hasn't been great. So yeah, we'll have to talk to some more D-backs players, see how they feel about, especially the lack of customization with the pants that you mentioned. I imagine that would be an issue for some guys. But yeah, I mean, maybe the union getting involved tends to make things happen. So if the union is able to have their way here, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of solution to this issue before too long.
How did we drift so far from colored snakeskin belts being, customized right outside of the locker room door to this, Jesse? Like it happened so fast.
Yeah, this pretty soon they're going to be like, do you wear a small, a medium, or a large? Just tell us. We got those 3 sizes. Maybe we could do an XL if you really need it. Like,
oh, that's all we got. Sorry, pal. Well, speaking of customizing your experience, I'll tell you, Arizona Lottery right now has a very unique ticket and promotion called Arizona Adventure. There's 3 unique ways to play this. Of course, you can play it by buying Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets featuring 3 iconic landscapes here in the Valley. You can also check in at geolocated adventure spots at 10 destinations across the state, from Flagstaff to Yuma. And yes, even Yuma. Yuma is beautiful. I had a wonderful time with my friends at a music festival in Yuma. So make sure you check out everywhere in the state, including Yuma. And they have all sorts of wonderful spots, including East Wetlands Interpretive Trail in Yuma, Arizona. So visit azadventure.com for more details and directions. But by checking in at these destination coordinates on the website, you can have a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. This promotion celebrates state pride and uniqueness and beauty of Arizona. And of course, right now, look at that background behind Jesse. Like, look how beautiful our state looks. So this is one day after Arizona's birthday. It's looking gorgeous, Arizona. So make sure to check out this promotion. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure with Arizona Lottery and for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. Damon, I know you've been back. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, find you a place to enjoy the nature where they aren't mowing the dirt. Mowing the dirt is a little bit there's a noise pollution element there that I don't recommend. There's a lot of other places you can go.
Yes, there is. Damon, have you gotten some piping hot queso from Illegal Pete's in you yet? I know you've been back for a while, so I imagine you've made your stop to Illegal Pete's.
What's funny is I actually have. I know you have. I went on Tuesday, my second day back.
Because it's like inject it into my veins. Inject the piping hot queso right into my veins, and that's
I love that.
That's
place,
why.
Man.
If you need to find Damon, that's typically where we go to find him. We'll search Studio B, and then Jesse and I just get right in the car and drive to Illegal Pete's to try to find Damon, because we figure that's the second place he'll be. Illegal Pete's does have Arizona's strongest margaritas, and they also have some wonderful food. Don't miss out on the reverse nachos, by the way, which might be the only way to nacho. It might be the only way to nacho, you guys. I'm not sure if I ever want to go back, but take advantage of Illegal Pete's weekly deals right now. Kick the Monday blues with $3 margaritas all day long, or ease your way back into the week with $2 tacos every single Tuesday. If you work in healthcare or if you work in education, make sure to take your team to lunch at Illegal Pete's every Tuesday. Enjoy buy one, get one free entrees. Don't forget to unwind after a long day at their happy hour, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single day. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer. And if you're here in town for spring training, great place to stop. Again, make sure to fill up while you're here. Get your fill of all the wonderful food I have to offer down here in this part of town, because we got some great stuff. Of course, we thank you guys so much for joining us. Jesse, are you gonna drink water? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna go down? What do you do now?
I've been drinking water. I have my my hydro flask on. They're just ready to go right here. I think I'm gonna have to go help them mow the dirt, though. It sounds like they've got a lot of work.
I mean, maybe you go to explain to them that the dirt doesn't need to be mowed. I don't know. That might be a conversation for another day. But
you mow the grass. You don't have to mow the dirt.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be back at it tomorrow. Of course, we'll be back at Salt River Fields. So make sure to join us this same time tomorrow at 2 p.m. Hopefully in studio. No promises there, though. We might just make this a regular thing. I'm going to go join Jesse where he's at, because even I'm jealous of looking at his background right now. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys for stopping by. We appreciate your time, and we will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun during spring training.
We all silly like the mayor.